It's 6 weeks in now. I think we have 120 calls booked. We have around 90 calls already done. And from those 90 calls, I think we have 16 qualified sales opportunities that have around 1 million Swiss francs in deal value.
All right, thank you for everyone for watching this video. I'm Lucas as part of Peakora, Outbound Leads, and today for this growth story, we'll be welcoming Daniel Jordi, who is head of business development at Ginetta, and who's going to share a bit more about what we managed to build together in terms of outbound practices, essentially speaking, and then all some nice results that we can share in that spoke. So welcome, Daniel. Really cool to have you here. Just to break the ice with everyone, can you just present yourself a bit and what exactly that you do at Ginetta so that we have a full understanding of the scope?
Sure, absolutely. So I've been with Ginetta now for 3.5 years. And in the beginning, I was more in charge of acquisition, projects, clients. And a couple of months ago, I moved more into the role of head of business development to take over that function and just more proactively drive growth of sales, business development, lead generation, deal flow. Yeah, that's a little bit of the context.
Okay, awesome. And then just Ginetta, generally speaking, what you do in terms of services or what exactly?
Yeah. So we are really, I mean, most of our core capabilities are within UX design, but it's revolving around digital product experience. So like from product strategy all the way through the whole design part, the concept part, the research, all the way to growth at the other side. Growth in terms of like digital product growth, adoption, engagement. We also do development, so that's kind of like a little bit of our space, but it's kind of a boutique, although it's not very small. We're about 50 people, so we're not super small, but we work mostly with large companies based in Switzerland, and we're in the enterprise sales environment, so usually fairly large deals, long sales cycles, very complex deals and decision structures and all that fun stuff that you have in high-end B2B sales. That's a little bit of the environment.
And yet you already have a nice portfolio of clients and accounts you're working with already, like big names here in Switzerland. So that's great.
Sure.
Cool. So just so we can get a better understanding, like before we start working together, what were the problems like that you were facing, and how were we able to solve them afterwards as we started collaborating together, in a nutshell?
Yeah, I mean, the problems, it's funny with that because the problems were not problems as long as everything runs smoothly and we are in an up-only world, because then it can cope pretty much with everything, right? And everything is okay-ish. But essentially, I mean, it was pretty much 3 to 4 people in the business group that managed the whole revenue, meaning like they're responsible for the whole lead generation, deal flow pipeline, deal management, closing, and account management at the same time. So it's literally 3 to 4 people, and that was it. And the problem with that, I mean, as long as everything runs smooth, there's absolutely no problem with that. But if 1 or 2 of those 4 leave, suddenly you do have problems. And maybe suddenly you realize, oh, it's very, very, like it's built on a foundation of sand, pretty much, right? This structure or this ground, this business structure. And that was really the problem because when you have every 2 years or so, somebody leaves and somebody new joins, and you have a 6 to 9 months onboarding period until somebody is, or maybe a year, actually kind of a year until somebody's up to speed, you only reap 1 year of production, right, on average. So you invest 1 year of building somebody up, and then you have 1 year that you can reap the rewards, and then they're gone pretty much, right? And you need to do the whole thing again and again and again. And that's very, very hard, time-consuming, painful, and really draining. So that was really the problem in essence. And most of our business came from referrals and networks, which a lot of people may say, well, that's amazing. That's not a problem. That's awesome. Well, yes, as I said before, like as long as everything goes up, that's amazing. That's great. But what if the market turns? You know, what if suddenly things weren't going so well anymore and things aren't just coming your way? We had literally no way of proactively generate demand. We had absolutely no way. The only way we knew how to do business is make sure and hope that our clients refer us. That worked more or less okay. And the other thing was that we hired people with really strong networks and just really high level salespeople that were great at that whole thing. That was pretty much it. But everything else was random or by chance, I would say. And that really started to become difficult once the market turned, because suddenly we found ourselves at the mercy of the economy, and we were like, okay, it's very difficult. It's very difficult, and we didn't have a way to turn it around because we never knew anything else. And over the past 2 years, I started experimenting a lot with lead generation, with outbound, but I mean, emphasized on experimenting, right? So nothing that actually worked really well or that we knew how it worked until the beginning of this year, when we did a campaign on LinkedIn with the roundtables. I can tell more if you're interested in that, but worked really well. So we knew we had something that actually generated really high quality deals, really high quality revenue. And I wanted to scale that. And that's when we got engaged with you to really take that to a whole other level.
Yeah. No, very interesting. And that you've already been sharing about that, these outbound campaigns we've launched afterwards together. We're going to have a talk about this, of course, in a moment. But just coming back a bit before, which is that you're particularly adopting some sort of ABM strategy, right? Account-based marketing, as you've been saying it, you've been targeting, well, big enterprises mainly, or like rather big companies. So here it would really need a set where you need to approach such accounts with different touch points and on a long period, so to speak, with different people inside it. There's a lot of could be personas inside such companies. So how has outbound helped you in this strategy so far? And then we can go into more details about concrete campaigns that were launched.
Yeah, I mean, just like to put a bit of a contrast between before we worked with you guys and now. Before we worked with you, we looked at lead generation, or we worked with a couple of agencies before, and like the projects we have done with them sometimes worked badly, but sometimes worked really well. The actual problem was that once the project, so like the 2 to 3 months campaign was finished, that was it. It was literally like, let's do a cold campaign. We approached 2,000 people, and that's pretty much all we can do. And then we don't know what else we should be doing, and we're lost. Like, and then those people who responded, you have it in an Excel sheet, and you're good. That was pretty much it. So it was extremely short-term thinking always from these agencies. And when we engaged with you guys, we set up the whole CRM system together in a way that we can actually track everything. We know everything about the people, the companies, how we engage with them, when we engage with them, what the outcome was, at what stage, and everything. And every single person we have a touch point with is part of the CRM. So we always know who we talk to. And and when we have somebody that we don't have in the CRM, we are 100% sure we have not talked to that person before. And that to me is huge, because otherwise you have these one-off things, and you can do only so many one-offs until it gets really confusing. And you don't know, like, should I do more of that? Or have I already like messaged a lot of these people? And, you know, all that stuff. And our market is really limited. We don't have 5 million potential prospects. We are really focused on Switzerland and pretty much 200 companies here. That's our target accounts. That's pretty much it. It's maybe, if it goes really high, it's maybe 50,000 prospects. And that's our entire total addressable market. That's it. There's nothing more than that. So we can't just like blast 50,000 people in 6 months and then hope something comes back. And, you know, what do we do afterwards? So it's not sustainable. So what I was always looking for is a sustainable way of creating value for those people. Because if there's one thing I know in the sector and in the type of world that we are in when it comes to sales is, as long as we can create enough trust, credibility, and position our services or our value proposition in the right way, and we can do that up until the moment somebody is ready to buy, we will always win. We cannot lose. There is no way we can lose with that strategy. But with one-offs, I was unable to do that. But now with you guys, we can do that because we have both an outbound and like a cold outbound strategy, where we actually, the way I look at it is like, we bring people into our world that we haven't had in our world before. That's what it is to me, right? And we also, at the same time, have a strategy to nurture the relationships with the people we are already in contact with, and do the same and do this at the same time. So I know with what we're doing, this may sound a little bit arrogant, but I know with what we're doing, there's no chance we can lose.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, well, I mean, we can definitely show this or talk about this a bit more concretely about like this last campaigns we've put into place. I think it'd be very interesting to know what were the returns here, because you had really nice returns. So can you tell us a bit more about this, especially last campaign we've put into place for quite some time, which is also some sort of an ongoing campaign, really reflecting what you've been saying just before?
Yeah, 100%. But just like to quickly go back to the beginning of the year when we did the first real campaign with the roundtables, we had good results. So we created around 230,000 in revenues in first projects for completely new business from around 1,350 prospects we actually messaged, right? And the version in between that has always been relatively high numbers, always double digit from every single step. So from responses to positive responses to interested to calls to deals created to actually close deals. It's always been double digit percentages at every step. So that worked well. The thing
it was already a good base. Yeah, definitely.
Because it took me 9 months to know if it worked or not, because that's our sales cycle, right? But once the 9 months were over, I did the calculations and I knew I had something that worked. And then we did some stuff in between, but the real next campaign is what we started around 6 weeks ago. I think around 6 weeks ago, we started our campaign. And there we have around 2,500 people on the list. It's an email campaign.
Correct.
Some of it is cold, some of it is warm. It's a mix a little bit between. We have all of our existing clients are on there, but also people who have no idea who we are. So it's a little bit of a mix. But there, we simply did the same thing we've done before, but more at scale and ways more professional with you guys. And the response, I mean, not just the response, but the results are amazing. So it's 6 weeks in now. I think we have 120 calls booked. We have around 90 calls already done. And from those 90 calls, I think we have 16 qualified sales opportunities that have around 1 million Swiss francs in deal value. So that's where we are right now. And what I love about doing this in a way where you know your numbers and you can do it in a way you know every step and you measure everything is I can already tell you today, 6 weeks in, even though our sales cycle is much longer, it's usually 3 to 12 months, somewhere there. I can already tell you we're going to close 20% of those, 100% guaranteed. I just don't know when. It could be next week. It could be 9 months from today. I don't know when, but I know we will close 20% of those. And that's that's an okay-ish average, but that's pretty much what I know. And what I also know is if we now have 6 weeks, right? And we do that 5 to 8 times a year, you can just add up the numbers. So it's like 6 to 8 million in deals created we close 20% of those. That's only the first project.
Yeah, of course.
Only the first project. And what I know from our calculations is that our lifetime value of an average client is about 5 times bigger than the first project. So now you take that sales or revenue number and you multiply it by 5, and that's what you have as a long tail revenue over the next 2 years after the, or it's about 1.5 years, our lifetime on average. So you can say after this first project is closed, you have around, on average, over 1.5 years, 5 times more on average in revenue of that very first project. So I can do, calculations where I'm going like, if we just do that and just do more of that until we cannot do any more, we're good. Like we literally cannot fail. It's impossible to not create amazing results because we have something that works. So we just need to do more. We don't need to try new stuff or get creative or, find some new innovative strategy. No, this works. This works incredibly well. So let's just do more of it. And that's what we together now can do. That's what guys, this is something that I see like a huge value of working with you, because if we want to do more, let's say we want to do 10 times more than what we've done now in the past campaign, it's not that easy. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be in place to scale. And if there's one thing I learned in scaling so far is as soon as you scale, everything breaks. Like everything breaks. Like stuff just breaks. It's just like, it's incredible. Like if you try to scale something 10 times, what worked at one time just doesn't work anymore. There's so many things and nuances that you need to fix and you need to put in place. And like tiniest little parts of a process, if they're not really thought through, they just break. And I love it because then I know what was wrong. But
still, I totally agree with you, because I mean, also that's why it's important to at least systemize the minimum and the process from the start. And with all these last campaigns that we set up, we were really making sure that everything was put into place correctly, at least, in terms of the foundations, whether it is the CRM and then with the tracking, and then behind, like the building of the lists, and then how to concretely put this as campaigns in your outbound tool. And then everything so far works smoothly, but of course, hopefully it should continue like this afterwards. That's the whole point. But this is also why it's important to systemize from the start, and why there was this whole quite a lot of time initially that we've put into place into building this up and before launching anything.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think most people don't do that, or most companies don't do that. They only do that once stuff breaks, and then it's way more expensive than if you did it in the beginning. But that's just the way it is.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, I guess we need to convince people even more to join us. Yeah. Great, super. I mean, you said so much already, Daniel, which is already nearly bringing us to the end of this growth story. I didn't need to add more, to be honest. It was really cool. Thank you for sharing that much insights. Just some last words, maybe about if somebody else from another type of company, whether it's service or just speaking about how they should think about joining us, collaborating with us, and doing anything related to CRM setup or outbound.
Yeah, I mean, in general, like it was like really interesting. Like 2 weeks ago, I talked to somebody here at the company, and I told them we're working together and everything. And the person was like, "So are they the best? Are they the best agency?" And my answer was like, I honestly don't know. I also don't care, because right now they're the best for us, and it works incredibly well. So I don't care if somebody else is out there, if the best. What is the best? For me, it's like, this works incredibly well. And for me, it's not just, and here's maybe an interesting thing. It's not just about results in terms of like calls and leads and deals and everything. Because what I struggled with in the past as well with companies is like the cultural match. Because it's very difficult to work with a company or an agency that doesn't understand and fit the cultural match. it's a very different way to do outbound lead generation in the US or in, I don't know, another market than it is in Switzerland. If you don't understand the nuances of how business is done in Switzerland, it's very difficult. And, you know, maybe one more thing. Often people ask me, like, why do you think this is working so well? This campaign, the actual mechanics of the campaign, why do you think this works so well? And I would say, the way I look at it is, I really believe that the reason it works so well is because of the messaging. Yes, the targeting, we do incredible targeting, we do all that, but I really believe it's a messaging. It's what we tell people. And we don't tell people, hey, we're Ginetta, we're a UX design firm. We want to do that with you. We've done some projects here. Want to work with us? We don't do that because everybody else is doing that. And the first question in somebody's head when you do that is, why should I care? 3 people this morning told me the same thing on LinkedIn. Why should I care? Why should I believe you? Why should I care? Literally, nobody cares. Nobody cares. So the reason this messaging works so well is because it's massive instant value. We don't have time to go into the details here, but we really position the value proposition of what we offer in a way where people in the message itself receive massive value. And I really believe that's the difference, and that's where we can see the response rates. You know, we have 70%, 90% sometimes response rates from people. That's insane. That's incredible.
Yeah.
And 80% of that is positive. Like it's not 90% of people who write back and say, leave me alone.
That's
right?
crazy.
Like 80% of people writing back and saying, yes, I'm interested. Tell me more. Let's talk. This is insane. And I really believe the messaging makes a huge difference there. So thanks a lot for the deep dive into this, Lucas.
Yeah, I totally agree about the messaging and persona fit, which is what we call it. And a lot of people don't do it. And that's actually one of the main reasons why it doesn't work, even if you have a really cool list of people targeted, nailed. Well, if you don't have the messaging in front, you're not going to go further. But thanks a lot for bringing all of this additional insights, Daniel. It's been really cool just spending this little session with you, and especially knowing that you're having that much great returns out of what we've built together. So thank you so much again. And for everyone else watching the video, up to the next time for another growth story. Thank you.